All right, I've stated it multiple times that message filters are extremely powerful. In today's video, we're going to see if whatever conditions that are available in the content filters are available in the message filters as well. What do I mean? So right now, if you can see, I'm in the incoming content filters, and these are the conditions available. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So there are 25 conditions inside the incoming content filters, and we're going to see what are the equivalents for this in the message filters. We're going to check them one by one, so I'm just going to take a screenshot of this, and that's what I'm going to refer to so that I don't have to open this GUI again and again. All right? Oh well, let's jump right into it. All right, so I just took a screenshot of that and I numbered them so that we can correctly track them. Right now I'm going to look into message body or attachment. What's the equivalent for this in the message filters? So message body or attachment, for that we'll just go to filters. I'm just going to check how many filters do we have. We have 5 already. This is from the previous video that I did. So I'm going to say a range of 1 through 5, and that's it. All of these are done. I'm going to go for filters. I'm going to create a new one. And this one, it's a message body attachment, right? So what's the equivalent for that content filter, the first content filter in the message filters? The equivalent is body contains, right? That's it. So once you mention body contains and then say confidential, for example, if you're looking for a confidential string, or let's say spam, we shouldn't see this string in the message. Then this is how you do it. Now, I can mention how many times if you see spam in a message body, you should, this condition should get triggered. I can say 2. Oh, if the message body contains it 2 times, 3 times, or 4 times, then it will get triggered. In case you don't mention anything, it's going to take 1 by default, right? And message, this body contains, will check the email body as well as the attachment. So let's say if I had mentioned 2 here, and there was one occurrence of this word, this string spam inside the email body, then that would have been counted as 1. And if the attachment had one-time occurrence of spam, then it would have triggered the second time and the condition would have been met, and this is what it is. All right, so I'm going to say no op and close it. That's it. 1 filter is added, right? We're good with the first one, and yeah, as I explained it as well. So I'm going to say new, and let's check the second one. Right. So what is the second one? Message body. Again, now we have message body only, right? So this one is, let's name it as message body, right? So this one is if, let's say, I guess it's only body contains, right? So let me just quickly check it out. Yep, that's what it is. Only body contains. So you can say only body contains and the rest of the things remain exactly the same. Right, like we have, you know, in the same way we can say this time we'll say just confidential to make it look more professional just for the video, right? So I can mention 1, 2, 3, 4 in whatever way I want, right? So I guess that should be it. Confidential, only body contains. So this will just check the email body and not the attachment, right? So I'm not going to take any actions on this one and close it off, put a dot, and that's it, filters added. So let's take a look at the 2 filters that we created. Yep, list, that's that. And if I go for detail, and it gives me both of them right here. The first one is body contains, the second one is only body contains. So let's take a look at the third one. Okay, what's the third one? URL category. All right. So the start would be to go for filters and say new, and I'm going to say this one is URL cat, like the URL category. I'm going to say if. So the condition is going to be URL hyphen category, and then I'm going to mention which category. Now, if you want the list of the categories that we can put in here, you can go to the GUI. From the content filters, you can fetch all that information. So the URL categories is going to be a list of strings. So I can say in here, I can say adult. And for example, in this example, I'm also going to use alcohol. And that's it. That's literally it. Now, after this, we have three more options, which are your URL allowed list. That's the first one. I don't think I have any by default. It's not going to take anything. I can mention it this way, right? The option after that is if you want to scan the attachments as well. 0 means no, I don't want to scan any attachments. 1 means that yes, scan through the attachments as well if you see such a URL category hit in the attachments. And then after that, the third one is the body and subject. If you mention 1, it's going to check the body and subject as well for these categories. If you mention 0, it's not going to check any of that, right? So it takes these values by default, as I just mentioned as well. So that's pretty much it. If I just go for it this way, it would work as well. So this is how you write a URL category, right? And as I mentioned, for a list of these, you can go to the GUI. I'm just going to show you right after this. So I also don't have outbreak filters configured. So it's possibly going to tell me that, hey, what the hell is going on? Well, it is obviously going to tell me that. Anyways, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter now. And yes, there you go. It did, add the filter, right? It did add the filter, but again, it said it's marking it as invalid. Why? Because outbreak filter feature is not enabled. Well, is it added? For real? Yes, it is, as you can see right here. So that's number 3, URL category. Now I'm going to show you the list of the categories that you can get from the GUI just in a moment. Before that, let me just show you the detail. If you run the detail for this again, you will again see the error. But again, you'll see why is it marked invalid. But at the same time, you're able to see the message filter that you just configured. And these are the 2 categories that I went for. Let me just show you quickly how it looks from where you can get the categories from the GUI. All right, here I'm at the GUI. And if I go ahead and add condition, I can say URL category, and this is where I can do it. So I went for adult and alcohol, so you can use it this way, and that's it. You say okay, and that's it. Apart from that, as you can see this value here as well, check URLs within message body and subject, attachments, and all. It's completely your choice. And the URL allowed list that I mentioned in the message filter using an empty string. And as I mentioned, we don't have any allowed list in this ESA. So that's how it is. Let's jump on to the next one. Let me just close this window and let's go ahead. All right, so the next one is URL reputation. I'm going to go to filters. I'm going to say new. I'm going to say URL and then rep. So URL reputation. We're on number 4, right? Number 4, URL reputation. So I'm going to say if URL hyphen reputation is what? So the range is between -10 to +10, right? So I'm going to say -5, comma, till -3, -2, sorry, -2. This should be sufficient. And there are 3 other values as well in this one as well, just like we had for URL category, right? But I'm just going to leave it at default. And I'm going to say no op, the no operation. And I'm possibly going to get the outbreak thing in this one as well, obviously. Well, yes, I did, but I also got 1 filters added. So if I say list, I got 4 now, and we have, let's take a look at the last 2. So I'm going to say it's 3 and 4, right? So with 3 as well as 4, we see this outbreak filter feature is not enabled. That's why it has these message filters have been marked as invalid because of this reason, right? In a URL reputation as well, you can see by default these 3 are added now, right? As you see in the, you would see that in the GUI as well. Anyways, and in this one as well, you can add more values. You don't have to just stick to 2. You can have 1, you can have 3, 4, 5, whatever, and so on. And then you have these 3 values. So this one is going to be the URL whitelist if you have any. If none, then this is how you put it. Then 0 for attachments if you want to scan through the attachments, and 1 for body and subject, right? That means it's enabled. 1 is enabled, 0 is disabled. Right, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna commit for now, just to make sure. And put in the comments, that's a good practice. It's just my lab appliance, that's why I really don't care. Okay, so the next one, let's take a look at the next one. And I'm gonna take a tea break, I guess, for a minute. Yep. All right, so the next one in line is body size. This is where we are at, number 5. So when we talk about this message size, we're actually looking at the message filter. We're going to name as message size, and we're going to say if, now here it says body size actually. So it's going to be body size, and we're going to say, hey, the body size is greater than, let's say 5 megs, right? So when I say a capital M, this is megabytes, all right? So if body size is greater than 5M, bracket start. So whenever you get any message that is greater than this, I can again do no op, but let me do a bounces this time. Okay, let me just bounce it. Okay, so this is the action I'm going to take on any message that is greater than 5M. And there you go, 1 filter is added. Okay, now I can take any other action as well, depending on whatever. So yeah, instead of no op that I've done for every other message filter, I believe that, that's a separate topic altogether. I don't want to get into actions right now. So wherever I have mentioned no op in these filters, so it's nothing but this no op, this is the action. So I don't want to take any action. When I don't want to take any action, I use the option no op. I've explained this in one of the other videos. You can go and check out that video in my channel. All right, so we're done with this one. Let's jump on to the next one. So we're looking at message language now, number 6. And for that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to filters. We're going to say new. We're going to say language, just to make sure, message. So message language, if message language equals. Now here we can give a few options. For example, if I want to mention English, I can say EN. If I want to say Portuguese, for example, I can go for PT. And this is how we basically write it. And if I want to add more languages, I can mention the codes for that right here, right? And you can continue so on and so forth. And I'll tell you where to get these from. Again, you can go to incoming content filters and go for a message language, and that's where you can fetch these codes from anyways. So if message language is this and this, then I'm going to take a different action right now. I'm going to say log entry. Oh, wow, I should have taken some tea before. I'm changing the actions now. Okay, log entry English or to get, I'm not sure if that's the correct um, spelling, but anyways, put a dot there, hit enter, 1 filter is added, so we are good. Right? And if you want to check how it looks, I'm not pretty sure. Okay, so we have added 6 right now. Okay, so this is the 6th one. Okay, this is how it looks, right? And it's active and it's valid. But if you check out all of them, pretty sure one of them is not going to be valid, right? Invalidation reason outbreak filters. Yeah, a couple of them actually. So yeah, we're done with that. Let's move on to number 7. Okay, so number 7, we are looking at macro detection. Okay, let's see how we can do it. So we'll again go to filters, and I'm going to say new, and then I'm going to say the name, macro detect, And let's say if, okay, I guess it's macro detection something, macro detection rule, macro detection rule. Now there are three rules available in this, and you can mention those three in a list, in a Python list kind of, right? So we know that this is how we represent a list in Python. For those of you who don't know, well, this is how you do it. And there are three values that we can mention here. For now, we can just go for example, Microsoft Office files. So we can say Microsoft Office files. So any of those containing any macros, we're not going to let them go through, or we're going to take any action that we want. So you can draw bounce. Again, I can go ahead and say bounce, and should be good with this. I'm going to show you the other two options available as well. From the GUI, one filter is added, so we're good. Macro detection, if there's a macro and this is the file we're looking at, then that's it. Now let me just go take you to this GUI where I'm going to show you all the three options. Okay, so now here, what I can do is I can say add another condition, and I can say, for example, macro detection, and I can say any of these three. This is what we mentioned in the message filter, right? Microsoft Office files, we can go for OLE file types, and it'll be portable document. And from the content filters, this is how we do it, but I just showed you how you do it from the message filters, right? So let's just jump back to the CLI. Okay, there's another way of taking action on macro files. That would be using an action, but anyways, I'm not going to do that right now because, yeah, I'm strictly going to keep it, um, you know, to the topic, whatever we mentioned before, right? So we're done with this one as well. Now let's move on to the next one. All right, let's take a look at the next one, which is number 8 right here, which is attachment content. I go to filters, now I say new, attachment, was that content, right? So the equivalent for this is attachment contains, right? Did I spell that correctly? Yes, that is correct. Now, there are a couple of options available in this. Does the attachment contain a particular string? Let's say, for example, spam. I can hit enter now, and that's it's going to look for the string in any number of attachments that are there, and it's going to trigger it accordingly, right? And you'll have a number of matches required argument as well in this, which you have to mention by default. I believe it's going to go for 1, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So the other option that is available is to check if it has any smart identifiers, which is credit card numbers, social security numbers, CUSIP, and so on. There's a fourth one as well. Anyways, so just to mention, I can say credit, for example, if I want to check the smart identifiers for credit card numbers, then I have to mention the number of matches. Let's say one time, 2 times, 3 times. Okay, let's say if there are 3 matches, then go ahead and trigger it, and no matter if there's 1 in one attachment to and 2 in the other one, it's going to get triggered. And then we have the third option here. Do you want it to get triggered when it sees a credit card number, or when it has the prefix with it as well? So not just a credit card number, a prefix as well. So in that case, I can just say prefix. Yes, I want it to trigger only when it has a prefix of credit, SSN, CUSIP, and whatever is there for the fourth one. You can check it from the GUI. Anyways, this is one of the ways you can do it, and the other one I already showed you. I can take an action based on this. What is the action I want to take? I want to say, whatever, no op this time. Otherwise, you can quarantine it. Don't drop it. Maybe bounce it, or no, quarantine would be just fine, anyways. But yeah, just for the sake of this example, I'm just gonna go with this one. Hit enter, and that's it. One filter's added. That's it. I do not really need to go for this 3 prefix. If I don't want to use any prefix, I can just keep it empty, right? That's it. Yep, we're done with number 8 as well. Okay, I'm just going to quickly check what was the fourth option, just to make sure. The fourth one was ABA routing, ABA routing number. Yep, ABA routing number. That's the fourth one. Anyways, so let's jump on to the next one. And it is attachment file info. Okay, well, with the attachment content, there's one more option available to check the content to compare it with any of the entries in the dictionary. Okay, we can cover that as well at the end of the video if in case the video doesn't go that long, right? So let's just try to cover these up as much as possible and let's see how it goes. Attachment file info, let's check it out. So the attachment file info is actually divided into multiple message filters. I cannot just go for one message filter and say, hey, voila, that's it. No, it's actually not like that. So there are multiple parts in this, as we can see from the GUI as well. This attachment file info. It checks for file name. File name contains a term from the content dictionary, file type, and MIME type, file hash list. Image analysis verdict, external thread feeds, and attachment is corrupt or not. So there are multiple values. I can show you a couple of the message filters that we can use instead of that content filter. So what we can go for, let's say, for example, um, attachment, attachment, let's say file name, right? So I can do that, and I'm going to check the file name for that attachment. I can say if attachment file name. That's it. So using this, we can mention if there's a certain string that we're looking for in the file name. So we can say something like a test, dot mp3 and stuff like that. Although if you want to make it very, if you want to give it very granular, um, you know, options right there and then, what you can go for is you can say, for example, dot mp3, and you want to make sure, hey, whatever the name is, whenever an attachment is there and the name ends with dot mp3, that time just take some action. So there are multiple options in this. If you want to go with whatever is mentioned in the user guide, you can go for that as well, which says actually a question mark and an I, which says, hey, does it begin with whatever, whatever, and then you have a dot that actually is for dot mp3. Yep, that's pretty much it. So you can mention this, and yeah, that's it. Hit enter, and this would mean that whatever has .mp3 in it. So just go ahead and I don't want to quarantine it because I don't really know which quarantines do I have in the PVO. I don't want to go for the default one anyways. So let's not complicate things. So this is how you can use the file name option. And once you do this, one filter is added. There are many other message filters for the attachment rules available. Now, if I say new, for example, I can go for the MIME types, or I have other options as well. For example, I can go for the file type, not necessarily the MIME type. I do have an option for MIME type as well, or I can say attachment type as well, right? So let me just show you one more example, and yeah, we'll just wrap it up with that. So, well, we'll wrap option number 8 of the content filters. So I just mentioned new. I'm going to say attachment, and this time, let's say I want to go for MIME type. Okay, I'm going to name it like that, and I'm going to mention if attachment, and then I'm going to say MIME type, and I'm going to say, for example, I want to check if the MIME type is video. I can do that. Oh, what was that? Okay, video. But this is not sufficient when it comes to MIME types. I can do a backslash and a star. Pretty much it should be a backslash and a star with that. Right. If you go for this one, you can. I think we should go for. It's not actually a backslash, it's a forward slash. And you have to give it, otherwise, it's not going to take it. This is important, right? So that's how the format is. You're going to say no op, because you see the MIME types actually they may contain alphanumeric characters and dashes separated by a slash or an asterisk, maybe used as a wildcard. Well, not or, it can be used as a wildcard if you want to use it. either side of the slash. So you can have a star and then forward slash. That star is the asterisk, right? So have it this way, one filter is added, and that's it. So this is how you write the MIME type. Then you have the file type, you have the file name, you have the type itself, and that's pretty much it. There are a lot of options in there. You can have it checked against a content dictionary as well. So yeah, I don't want to go through all those options, but I'm going to put a link for the user guide in the description below so that you can check out the other options as well, right? Should be good with that. Let's check out the next one, attachment protection. Okay, so we have reached number 10, possibly another tea break, or maybe a coffee break this time after this. So once we're done with this one, which is number 10. Let's go ahead and quickly do this. This one is pretty simple. I'm going to go to filters. I'm going to say new, and I'm going to say attachment protected. So let's say if attachment hyphen protected, that's it. If it is protected, then, sorry, if the attachment is protected, then go ahead and take a certain action. Let's say I don't want to check all that. I'm going to say drop. And yeah, that's pretty much it. One filter is added, and that's literally how you do it. If attachment protected, nothing after that. I mean, nothing for this particular condition. And then for the unprotected, it's exactly the same, just you add the two words in there of unprotected. So you can do attach underscore unprotected, right? So I can say if attachment hyphen unprotected, that's it. Then I don't want to do a drop this time. Whenever I don't like any option, I just go for no op. This is just for the examples, like literally don't do that. Okay, so yeah, I've explained it in one of my previous videos. Go check that out. I said it multiple times now, right? So if attachment unprotected, then go ahead and take certain action. So if an attachment is protected, you want to check out what's really going on, you may go ahead and quarantine that. And yeah, that should be it. Okay, now let's look at the next one. So we're looking at subject header number 11. I'm just gonna go ahead and quickly show you that. This one's also pretty straightforward. I can do new and I can say subject for sub for subject. So I'm gonna say if subject contains, um, let's say official, I can do that. Now, if I want to check some other entries as well, not official, but official as well, so I can say if official, and then I can mention any other entry in here, like let's say spam. I can check for other entries as well by adding more of these pipe symbols in there, right? So I can say if the subject contains official and spam, and go ahead and take a certain action. What is the action? I'm going to say log an entry this time. Mention from the officials or a spam, whatever. Completely your choice. You can take any other action. I'm going to go in detail with the actions in one of my upcoming videos, possibly, I don't know when, but whenever. I have that in my mind. So hit enter, one filter is added. So we're done with this one as well. So this is how you do it. And this, my dear friends, means contains, right? Uh, well, I have explained how you can specifically look for only certain text in one of my previous videos where I've defined regex. You can check that out. I'm going to put a link for that in the description as well. So yeah, good with that. And we're done with the subject. Let's take a look at the next one. All right, so the next one in line is other header, right? And with the subject header as well, you have the content dictionary option as well. But again, I don't have a content dictionary in my lab appliance, so I'm not going to go for that. But anyways, for that, you can take a look at the user guide, and for that, I'm going to put a link in the description. Now, other header, for other header, you simply go ahead and say filters, say new. You can say other header, and you say if header. Now, whichever header you're looking for, you can just mention that here. So I can say from, right? So I can hit enter now, and that would mean, hey, whatever email came in, if it has the from header, take so into action. Now, we can also do it like this. We can also mention, hey, there's a header from, and if that from header contains a certain entry, let's say if it's from let's say if it contains at cisco.com, then go ahead and take a certain action. So there are two ways of doing it. Actually, a third way as well, which would be content dictionaries again, which I'm not touching right now. Anyways, no op, and I don't want to take any action right now on this one, but this is how you do it, right? Header from, you can just mention this much, or you can mention the whole thing like it did, and both are pretty much valid. Again, right, we're good with that. Now, we're done with the other header as well. Let's take a look at the next one. So the next one in line is envelope sender. So let's do this 13 and 14 together. Okay, yeah, envelope sender and envelope recipient. So let's do both of these together. Sorry, just got too emotional there. Okay, filters. I'm going to say new. I'm going to say from underscore RCPT as well. I'm going to cover both of them in here. Let's say if mail from contains, now I'm going to say son at the network viking.com. Let's say if the mail is from this person, and I can mention the other one, which is envelope recipient, which would be RCPT2. RCPT2, if it's destined to, who? If it's destined to Shurgil at cisco.com, I can do that. Now, that's it. These are the two options, literally. RCPT2 and mail from. These are what represent mail from represents envelope from, and this you know envelope recipient, right? So I hit enter and I do this. I'm gonna say log entry, and I'm gonna say mail from the Viking. Make it look weird. Anyways, and that's it. One filter's added. That's literally how you do it. I've explained it in multiple videos. This one as well, but anyways, I just want to cover it. Wanted to cover it real quick. Okay, that one done as well. Let's go for the next one. So we're looking at a receiving listener. Okay, so with this, we check which listener did we receive the email on, or the connection on, basically. So what we can do is I can go ahead and say filters, and I can do new, and I can say RECV stat. So I can say if receiving and then listener. This is how you write it, literally. And then you got to mention the listener. Hey, was it received on so-and-so listener? In my case, I got one listener only, and this one is the other me. I don't know why well, I know why I named it like that, but anyways, I don't have to discuss that. Well, that's it. I mention quickly no op, just show you the syntax of how you do receiving listener, and that's it. One filter is added. I've added a lot of listeners right now. If I do a list, for example, wow, 16 so far, two of them invalid. Well, due to certain reasons, obviously, that we mentioned while we discussed those. Right? So we're good. Okay, let's go for the next one, which is remote IP or hostname. Well, we're doing good. We're at 16 right now, and remote IP or hostname. How do we mention remote IP or hostname? This is an extremely important message filter. Well, the others are as well, but this is something I use a lot. So I can say new remote IP or hostname. So I can mention any of that. I do a remote IP, and this is how I do it. And I mention if remote hyphen IP. and then equals to. And here we mentioned the public IP that we are dealing with. So I can say 14.14.14.14. Well, obviously you can give it a private IP as well. That's not a problem. It's just that, it looks more accurate. I don't know. Maybe the remote IP, whenever the remote IP is this, if the remote IP is this, then take a certain action. Hey, I don't want to receive any emails from this guy, any connections from this guy to begin with, let alone the emails. Okay, I go ahead and drop. That's it. One filter is added. In the same way, you can mention the host name as well. Well, let me check that real quick. Right? So let's check it out real quick. Remote host, and it should be the same if remote. Oh shit. IP? Let's do the host.com, and let's mention I don't want to take any I don't want to take any action. And oh, that is great. One filter is added. Great. The host.com. In that case, it'll have to, just do a DNS on this one and get it done. So that's how you mention the host, and this is how you mention the IP for this, and that's it. So you use the same rule in this one. And we got just one option from the content filters as well. Likewise, we have from the message filters as well. I showed you both the examples. Wow. Okay, let's go for the next one. All right, so the next one is the reputation score. Well, this is the reputation that is the SBRS, actually the reputation of the IP address of the sending host. All right, to be more specific. Right, so I can do a new, I can say, so as I said, it's the SBRS, I can do SBRS, and I can say if. Now, in this case, how we do it, we mention a reputation. Right? So if it's greater than, if it's less than, if it's equal to, so I can say, let's say, for example, if it's less than or equal to minus 3.0, and that should be it. So if I mention that, that means, hey, if the reputation is less than that or equal to this, then we want to take a certain action. Okay, also beware that if your ESA is not actually at the um, the boundary of your organization, and that, I mean, not necessarily, but anyways, I mean, if there's any other MTA between the ESA and the remote host that sent the original email, then you'll have to use the incoming relay option just to make sure you don't mess things up. So yeah, whenever you're using the SBRS option, make sure of that. All right, so let's go ahead and say this time again, I'm not dealing with actions right now, therefore I'm just filling all of these with no op. One filter is added. That's it. That's how you check the reputation, and that's SBRS, and that's the IP reputation of the sending host, the sending MTA. It could be an ESA as well. Anyways, we're done with this one as well, and we're going to take a look at the next one. Let's go ahead. All right, so we're looking at domain reputation now, which is nothing but SDR, the sender domain reputation. I go to filters, I say new, and this is how we actually write it. So I say, oh, first of all, I give it the name SDR. So if SDR, so there are multiple parts in this one as well. We can check the sender domain reputation, or we can check the maturity as well. We can check if SDR is unscannable. Completely depends on which one you want to check. Now, also there's another thing with 14.2 release of the ESA. What you have is there were tainted and weak threat levels for SDR. Those are merged as neutral now. So that's that. Yep, that's an update with 14.2, so just keep that in mind. Now, there are 5 levels available at the moment, which would be questionable, and I'm going to go for questionable in this case. And as you can see, you know, I've mentioned this questionable inside these square brackets, and therefore it's just like your Python list, as I mentioned before, whenever I use it like that. So we have questionable, we have others as well, like untrusted and all of that. So I can mention untrusted right here. I can say untrusted. So the first one is questionable. I separated with a comma. For the second one, I mentioned untrusted. That's pretty much it. So this is the close of the list right here with the closing square brackets. And then I have to mention an empty, string right here. This empty string is nothing but a domain exception list. If I wanted to use one, or if I had one, I could have just mentioned the name here that way. But this has to be mentioned in this case um, by design. This is how it is. If you don't mention it, you'll get an error. All right. So I do this and I mention, hey, I want to quarantine it. I want to drop it. I want to do whatever I want to do with it. And that's it. I hit enter and it says one filter is added. In the same way, I can go for the sender maturity as well. That's completely up to you, and that's not a problem if you go for that, right? So yeah, let's move on to the next one. And you know what? Let me just show you the maturity one real quick. So how do you do that? Sender maturity. What's the How do we do that? If SDR sender MATURITY, if the maturity of the sender in terms of days is greater than, let's say, 30 days, right? And then again, the domain exception list, and this is how you mention it. And then you go ahead and put a dot here, one filter is added. If you add a higher number, you'll get an error. It's not going to accept that. So that's that. And let me just go ahead and commit it. Just hit enter a million times. And let's check out the next one. Okay, so we're looking at DKIM authentication. Well, I wanted to cover DKIM as a whole as well in one of the videos, but let's do DKIM authentication for now. That's good. New, and I'm going to say DKIM authentication. For that, I'm going to say if DKIM, and then I have to mention authentication. If the DKIM authentication is any of these values, you have pass, you have fail, sorry, yeah, you have that as well. Yeah, you have pass neutral. There are multiple values. Let me just look that up real quick so that I just mentioned that in this video. Pass, neutral, temp error, perm error, hard fail, and none. These are the options available for DKIM authentication. And once you do that, now I've written pass, I can go for the other values that I just mentioned. I'm just going to go for that for now. If DKIM authentication is pass, then we should be good. Then go ahead and just notify. Don't need to notify. Just let it go through without any problems. I hit enter, and that's it. One filter is added. Right? You can go for neutral, temp error, perm error, none, and that's how you do it, right? Okay, what are we looking at next? Right, we're looking at forged email detection, which is number 20 right here. So we're looking good, just a few more topics. So, okay, vet the forged email detection. I need a dictionary again, right? So yeah, a content dictionary is required, and without that, I won't be able to do it. So let me just show you the syntax anyway. So you can do fed here. You can mention, hey, if the forged email detection is able to detect stuff, and then here is where we actually do the comparison. We have a dictionary that we go ahead and configure. But I'm not going to explain FED in this video. Possibly I'll do a separate video for that. But here you mention the name of the dictionary, and then here you mention the similarity score. Let's say 70, 90, or whatever you want to mention, and then you take a certain action, hit enter, and do that. Anyways, I'm not gonna do that in this video because yeah. Anyways, I'll keep this for the other video. Anyways, but this is how you do it from, this is the syntax of doing it from the message filters. And then you can take the action of FED, which would be to strip the from header from header with the, you can just swap it with the mail from, actually strip the from header if it's forged, only then, right? Otherwise you won't do it. And then you have SPF verification. All right, with the SPF verification, let's go ahead and check it out. So for the SPF status, we have the equivalent of, let me just show it to you, SPF. And what to do, we do a if SPF status. Now, this is the exact equivalent of what we have in the content filters, and we mention has it passed, has it failed, and whatnot, right? So if I say, let's say if the SPF status fails, then go ahead and take a certain action. Let's say, bounce it. For now, I'm just going to go for bounce because I don't want to go for quarantines or drop. Uh, I have a strong hatred for drop. I don't know why sometimes. Most of the times. Anyways. And that's how you do the SPF status. That's the exact equivalent. But there are other options as well. With the message filters for SPF, let me just show you one of them. So what you can do is you can go ahead and let's say SPF Pro, right? What does that mean? Let me just quickly show it to you. You can mention it like this. If let's say SPF and then status of what? Of pro identity, right? You have pro, you have mail from, you have hello, right? If you, let's say pro for this has failed, you can mention separately mail from, although you cannot do it from the content filter. So that's a good thing with message filters. You have these extra options in here. I love message filters. Man, let me go ahead and say, hey, if it failed, then go ahead and quarantine it. I'm just doing no op in this case, which does not mean quarantine. I just said it. I don't know why. But anyways, no op. Like, no, don't take any action in my lab appliance. But if this is failing in your production environment, you don't want to just go for no op. You want to do more checks possibly. Right? One filter is added in the same way you can do mail from here or hello. That's it. And there's another option available with the SPF, which would be like checking, hey, altogether if SPF passed or not. Let me just show you that as well. That's a really cool option. SPF has it passed. So what we can do is we can say, hey, if not, that's like the opposite of SPF passed, right? So we can say, hey, if SPF has not passed. Now, this is how you actually write it, literally. This would mean that, hey, if the SPF has not passed, this is a cool way of writing it. And then just mention that, hey, you want to drop that email. I just feel like doing it right now. Man, just change my statement like anything. All right, one filter is added, and this is how you do it, right? Isn't that cool? You don't find that in the content filters. You don't find these in the content filters as well, like the pra, mail from, and hello. You can not do it separately for them. We're done with the SPF as well, and let's take a look at the next one. All right, so we're looking at the next one is SMIME gateway message. Okay, let's do these two together. SMIME gateway message and SMIME gateway verified. With the SMIME gateway message, it checks if the SMIME is a gateway to gateway message. Now, if I go ahead and say filters, I say new, let me just explain it after that, right? If I do a new on this one and I say SMIME, I don't know. So I can say if, SMIME gateway, if it's a gateway to gateway message, as I mentioned, SMIME gateway to gateway. And I can do the other one as well, which is SMIME gateway verified. Now, I can use it just like I used for SPF. I can say if and not SMIME gateway verified. If it's not verified, then, you know, So this SMIME gateway verified, basically, this would check that, if a message is successfully verified, decrypted, or decrypted and verified, right? With the gateway message rule, it checks if it's signed, encrypted, and signed or encrypted as well. So it could be either just signed or just encrypted, or it could be both as well. So all these options and combinations are pretty much possible, right? So this is what it is. It's my gateway message. And if it's not, so this is just like I used with the SPF. Yep, if it's not verified, go ahead and take a certain action. You can take whatever action you want. You can quarantine it, you can bounce it, or whatever. It's completely your choice. Hit enter, one filter's added, and we're good with this one as well. Well, both these options are available as two different options from the GUI and as two different message filters from message filter conditions in the message filters, right? So it's not necessary to use both of them in the same one, although you can, as I just did, right? Let's take a look at the next one. And now we are looking at duplicate boundaries verification. Okay, well, this one is to make sure if a message contains duplicate MIME boundaries or not. And if it does, we can go ahead and take a certain action. And this is how we configure it. We go to this and we can say duplicate. DUP for duplicate. And we can say if. Now here is something which I don't find very consistent with the other message filter conditions. I can say duplicate. Now here, usually what we saw till now was a hyphen. Now here we don't have a hyphen, we have an underscore, right? So that's an inconsistency that I found there in terms of the conditions, although it's not a big deal. Once you know it, right? You can take a certain action. If duplicate boundaries, then go ahead and do something. If there's a duplicate boundary, if there is, a message that contains duplicate MIME boundaries, then go ahead and quarantine it. But for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and take no operation for this one. At the end, I'm just going to delete all these message filters anyways. But this is how you write it, right? Duplicate boundaries. And that's it. This is how you do it in message filters, right? One filter is added. And now we are looking at our final one, which is geolocation. And let's go ahead and do it. Before that, no, actually, just go ahead and do it. Okay, let's configure, oh my God, filters. And that's a new, this is the last one. My goodness, should be good. Video is longer, way longer than I expected, but I hope this helps. Anyways, I try to keep it as short as possible, so yeah, please don't be mad at me. Geolocation. And that's it for the geolocation. This is how you do it. You mention the geolocation rule, and it's literally, again, just like you have a list in Python. Now you can mention countries in here, right? So you can say US, um, right? You can say, UK, and again, you can go for, I don't know, Nepal, and yeah, pretty much it. Yeah, we're good with that. If the geolocation is from any of these, then go ahead and drop it, block it, or in this case, let me just go ahead and say no op, just like I was doing before. You can take whatever, you can mention other countries as well, but anyways, one filter is added, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, if I go back to filters and show you the list, we have a total of 28 in there because we did something like this in the middle somewhere, and we did sender maturity as well. All of these we checked today. The language of the message, macro detection, and all of this was a great ride. I liked it. Pretty much enjoyed making this video. For those of you who are not subscribed to my channel, please do it right now. I see that 63% of the audience of my YouTube channel is not subscribed to the channel. That's bad, and that really doesn't help. So I'd really encourage my viewers to go ahead and do that. That really helps and encourages me a lot. And if you have any questions, put it down in the comments section. Do bother me with questions. I like that. That doesn't bother me. I just use that word. I don't know why. But anyways, thank you. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.